Hi, welcome to Women of Right Now. We are here. Woohoo! Today we made it.
4210 Event Center.
4210 Event Center in Tampa, Florida.
At womenofrightnow.live.
Yes, womenofrightnow.live. Please share this broadcast with all of your friends, all of your audience. We have some great stuff that's coming up on Women of Right Now today and in the months to come. I am Nakia Kelly. I am your co-host with Lisa Garcia, and we will be here every Tuesday at 2 to talk to you about Women of Right Now, which is Women of WRITE, because we're going to talk about women who write. So in the months to come, we have a lot of great topics that are around women who are writing or women who want to write, from bloggers, authors, content creators. We even have some guests that will be coming on from the songwriting,
magazine contributions,
magazine writers, screenwriters, all areas of writing, basically. So if you are a woman who aspires to write, maybe you haven't written yet, but you really have you have it on your heart to become a writer, then this is the place to be for you, because we're going to talk about not only how you write, but what you can do with your writing as far as building your platform. If you have a book, how to market that book. If you have a blog, how to get that started, how to build your audience. So a lot of the topics that we're going to build out for you are, in the writing space. We know a lot of women who actually just are freelance writers. So, we'll also be having those discussions. You can always come back. If you can't be with us Tuesdays at 2, you can come back and watch the broadcast at any time. It'll be on our Facebook Live channel, womenofrightnow.live.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about let's talk about really how we came to be and what our vision is for this show, what our reach is, and then talk about really what our mission is. Will you talk about that?
Oh, you want me to talk about it?
Well,
I just talked. It's your turn.
Okay. All right. So
you can talk about it, and I'll jump in. How about
that? Sounds good. So really, our mission, and we believe in very concise and precise, right? Missions. Our missions for Women of RightNow.live is to reach that singular woman that doesn't feel like she has the confidence in her voice to express her voice, right? So we feel, first of all, we want to make sure that our show is always giving that invitation and always showing the open doors and giving the welcoming to give the confidence to that person, first of all. And the second part of it is to give you the tools and the resources and our experience and what's trending and however we can help, so that with everything that we give, I mean, it's the outwardness of our knowledge, right, and our experience and expertise in some areas, and with guests that we bring on the show that have specific expertise, it's combining those two things. So that's really what the mission is for, because we believe in the mission of promoting women's voices.
We truly believe in empowering women to use their voice to spread a message into the world, a message that we take our skills and abilities, the gifts that God has given us, and to expand your borders, to spread those messages as far and as wide as we possibly can. And we believe through Women of Right Now that it's a vehicle for us to do that. So we ultimately want to be a resource for you in the writing space, because we meet women all of the time who say that they feel that they are led to write, but they don't know where to start, which kind of brings us to what we're going to talk about today. So with our guest, Diane Allen, who's coming up, we're going to talk about why women don't start, why women get kind of blocked from moving forward when they say, I feel like I've been led to start a blog, or I feel like I've been supposed to write this book for 15 years and I've written a little bit, but I haven't really moved forward with it.
What are the obstacles maybe that they encounter during their life? What are the obstacles, whether they're human or not human? And then how do they get around them? Yes. So it's easy to say, and a lot of people, say this whole idea, or some people believe this idea of writer's block. So if you truly believe in that, I'm not saying I do or not, because I have some strong feelings about that, but I'd say I do believe in it. How do I get around it? And it's not always the same for every person, right? It's not always the same for each of us. We're going to get into that and talk that through.
Yes. And, I definitely have an opinion, as Lisa does, about I believe that writer's block kind of doesn't exist per se. A lot of people think that they'll say, I haven't written because every time I sit down to write, I have writer's block. And I believe that it's something a little different than everyone kind of lumps it into that label of writer's block, but I don't think it's always about writer's block. And maybe that's something else that you and Diane can kind of address and talk about. I'm sure that Diane has some pretty strong opinions about writer's block herself, just from what I've heard of her. So we want to be able to, in this show, be a little bit of a catalyst to help you feel more confident about moving forward, taking the steps that you need to write that book or start that blog. So one of the things that I always tell women that tell me, I wanted to write, specifically when they tell me that they want to write a book, they'll say, I have a title and I have a concept, and I think that, God is telling me that I need to share this message and that I need to speak to the world about this certain topic. And I'll say, well, what are you waiting for? And they say, well, I don't know where to begin. Find a friend. That's my first thing. A lot of people find accountability partners, but I say find a friend. Find a friend that you can set that goal with. Just like I have a friend. Her name is Judy. She writes beautiful poetry. Judy told me that she showed me pages and pages and pages of beautiful poetry that she's written, but nobody's really read it because she writes it and she keeps it to herself. And she said, do you think I should put this poetry into a book? And I said, absolutely, Judy. The world needs to hear this poetry. It's amazing. And she said, if I write a book, how would I do that? And I said, put stories, weave the stories into the inspiration of what gave you this poetry. And she said, but I have a hard time with setting time to write. And I said, I'll be your friend that holds you accountable to write. So we set this little schedule where she is supposed to go to the library every Tuesday and Thursday for an hour after work, and she's supposed to write on what she thinks will eventually be her book to the poetry. So she writes a story about the poetry. And now when I see her every week, I say, Judy, did you keep your appointment with yourself to do your writing Tuesday and Thursday? And sometimes she does, and sometimes she doesn't. But at the same time, she's already she says, that's really worked for me because I do a lot more writing than I used to, because I know that I'm going to see you and you're going to ask me about it. So, I think it's small actionable steps, that you can take, whether it's a blog or writing, find a friend that's going to help you is really what
I think we talked a little bit about her last session as well, but it's so that her particular obstacle, right, or her particular issue was that she just felt no urgency. And she felt no completion goal, right? So exactly. You help with that, so it's good. Okay, so I think we're getting ready to have our guest on the show. And we're going to run a little sponsor spot. And then stay with us. Women of Write, WRITE now.live, please. We also have Rosemary interacting and give some questions.
Nicole on social media.
About anything that you want to. And when we come back and return, then we'll have Diane Allen here. All right.
Hi, I'm Sandy Peterson, founder of 4210, a boutique event space located in South Tampa. Our venue reflects a clean, modern design featuring an indoor-outdoor setting. 4210 is an ideal venue for smaller private events. If you're interested in reserving a space of your own, please contact us on Facebook at 4210 spelled out. We'd be happy to accommodate your next event. Thank you.
Okay, we're back, and we have with us in the 4210 event space in South Tampa. Isn't it fabulous?
It's beautiful.
Our friend and founder, Sandy Peterson, just actually had this place come to life this August. So it's fairly new. It's fantastic what we're filming here. We have our guest Diane Allen, who is a multi-book author and the founder of Visions Applied in St. Petersburg, and really just the list of credentials and accomplishments is just like ongoing. So I'll just stop there. But thank you for joining our TV show.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here, and this is such a great space, and thank you for hosting me. This is wonderful.
Thank you for giving us your time. So we wanted to talk more about with you, because you have many, many years of working with people in all different areas.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just talk to you about, why you think women that want to write don't do it. Just to be blunt. I mean, and I know that's a huge question. I'm sorry.
Wow.
What's the meaning of life? That's the second question. Just kidding.
Thank you. Right. I think the number one reason women don't write is distractions. I think they're internally distracted, externally distracted, and part of the distraction are ideas like, I don't know if I can, or I don't know where to start, or will anybody even read it? Doesn't even matter. But there's also external distractions in the world. Life happens. And so it's all about where our priorities are and how strong the message is. I mean, my first vision for my first book came, not too many people know the story, came in about 1996. I was at a conference in Nashville, and it hit me like that. Here's the title of the book, write this. I hadn't written anything yet, official, other than, treatment things, but not like a book. And I went back to my room after that day, and I wrote, like a lot. And then I didn't even touch it for 5 years, because I was distracted. I was running a treatment center, I was doing this, I was doing that, but I knew I had to write the book. And since then, other books have come out, and I'm coming back to that topic. But I have 2 books out now, 2 more headed, doing my blog. But once you open the floodgates, it keeps coming. So I didn't do my first book because I was distracted. And I, sometimes I look back and go, I wish I had. But I know there's a perfect timing to it all, because the first books that came out are the ones that lead to where that's going to go. So sometimes you have to trust that, yeah, I wrote it all. I still have all that content. And at the same time, sometimes there's another timing that kind of flows with your own life better. So we have to be open to the opportunity and possibilities.
I love that. And it kind of goes to something that's going on for me right now. There's a particular topic, and I keep circling around it. I don't think, and I don't want to necessarily say what the topic is now. Suspense, just kidding. But it is that it's not the right time. I know it's not the right time. But what I do know that kind of helps me is that be open for more input and information that comes in. So even in those 5 years, I mean, when it was sitting there, I mean, did you find the topic that you were learning? I mean, you talk a lot about, our experience in life up until we're 50, and that you've taught me.
Right.
Do you feel like there was more input that you gained between that, the first time you started, versus 5 years when someone did open the gates, or you did start to write that?
There was a lot of life experience and a lot of education. There was also a lot of development of the depth of what was really coming through, and the message that I was supposed to be putting out. And so as I become older and I'm wiser, and I see how things go together and what's happening in the world, there's a timing for the message. And I see it now clearly. Back then I didn't. I learned a very valuable lesson from James Patterson, the novelist, about how to keep my writing organized. And that's why I did 2 books in the same year. And then 2 more books are going to come out the next year, and then 2 more. Because I learned it from an interview with him. And I thought, if he can do it that successfully, and I copy a little small fraction, I'm in, right? And it's working. So
I love it.
It's great.
Note to self, just kidding, go look that up, just kidding. So what I love that you said was this depth, and so now I put it with distractions, right? So the distractions can actually help you, if you're open to it, right, get more depth on the subject and help you more explore what you need to. So another question having to do with distractions, I mean, that's really, I find, one of the hardest things in my life, and it's really actually a prayer that I say as I'm driving and dropping off my daughters at school, which, like, today is their last full day of school for the whole year. So I'm a little bit anxious about that. But, my prayer is, and what I say out loud is, help move those distractions out of the way, because they can be so powerful.
Right.
And it's not even like you welcome them necessarily. You don't have to. They're there.
Right.
What do you think is like one of the most common ones, just to throw some out, or in your experience?
Being busy.
Busyness.
People even say to me, you're so busy, so that's why I didn't call you or whatever. And I say, yes, I am busy, but everything's on a calendar, and I have a method to my madness, and I know that busy people get more done. So it's okay to be busy, but it's not okay to use it as an excuse. So I have a question that's always in my head that keeps me focused. You want to know what it is?
Yes.
Is what I'm about to do going to get me where I say I want to go? Where I say I want to go. Because sometimes people say, I want to write a book, but they're not doing any action to get them to writing the book. Which means either the goal is impotent, they don't really want to write the book, or there's something else going on.
Did I not tell you she was wise?
See what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I'm always asking myself, is what I'm about to do going to get me where I say I'm going to go, want to go? And if the answer is a yes, like that, if it's a maybe or I'm not sure or that's a no. And so therefore, I need to get clean with myself. Is this really the goal? Is the book really the goal? Is the blog really the goal? Or is it a piece of a bigger goal and that's taking over? Or maybe it's not a goal at all because somebody else said I should write it. Because if we do it off a should off somebody else, it's never going to work. Right?
Well, and that just made me think about how many times I do see a lot of women do that, where they're like, they say they want to write a book or they want to write a blog because they saw someone else do it, and they want to be where that other person is. Yeah. So then they're like, oh, I need to take that same road they took.
Correct.
Which isn't always not everyone's journey is the same. So that might not be the vehicle.
Well, it's not even the recipe to get there. That's why people join the clubs, and that's why people go to the networking events, and that's why they're friends with so-and-so. I mean, then that becomes a big, huge life over here that's not even close to what they were supposed to go to.
So is what you're doing going to get you where you say you want to go?
And then, for me, it's say clearly, believe, and know, and be able to recite right where you want to go. Right? Or what your mission is.
Well, then here's the other part. Okay. This is the other part that goes with it. It never, 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 never turns out the way you think. So you have the perfect vision for how this is all going to look, and that's not it.
That was last week's show.
Well, it's not it. It's not it, because think about it. As you're creative and as you're going through and you're doing all these great things with yourself, right? The vision gets bigger, it expands more, and so it's never what you think it's going to be, ever. So if you lock into this is what it's going to look like, you're going to be wrong. So be open to all the possibilities that can come your way, and be open to the fact that what if it's bigger and better than you imagine? Yeah. Are you going to hold yourself to some little tiny thing when it's really meant to be bigger?
And we know that it's more than you would imagine.
So it's never what you think. It's never what you think. Once you get over that part, then you're good.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're at the end of our guest time frame. It kind of goes, well, I think so. So again, a new show. We're trying to format. Well, I love what Diane is saying. Well, and I've had the honor to go to, is it called your annual workshop?
My annual retreat in
Your
September,
annual retreat in September. I went to that, and that was the first one, and then I got to go to a Saturday. You know what? I fell right before that one. It actually was way worse than I thought. I mean, I actually finally just don't have scabs on it, but anyway, that's not about the scabs. It's about going to learning from you. I just appreciate that. I guess I think the struggle that some people that might be watching us have is that they have an idea of what writing, of what's going to happen to them and their personal persona, so to speak. I guess I'm trying to say that they have a fear of being exposed, right? Or a fear of, we kind of talk about this in social media, a fear of, if I say that, if I'm really honest and I write a book that really says how my husband treated me, or really says, that my brother was a drug addict or something like that, then everyone's going to know my secrets. Then everyone's not going to know that really I don't look like that beautiful picture on Facebook. I mean, how would you, if someone brought that to you, what would you say to them? If they said, that's the only thing that's keeping me from writing is that I'm afraid of being exposed, basically.
Well, I would tell them, in fact, I have somebody in that same similar situation now, and I said, okay, so you have main characters. You have you in all the different areas of your life, or whatever the story is about, and then the villain, if you will, right? And so you give them names that are not real. So like in my story that's going to be a novel, I'm Penelope. I don't
I know what you told me.
I'm Penelope, and the bad guy is Joey Bag of Donuts. So I wrote the whole thing with Joey Bag of Donuts and Penelope. And here's the other part. You tell them to weave in a little fiction.
Okay.
And you don't publish it as a truth, as a nonfiction. You publish it as a fiction. But the message still gets out.
Right.
Because everybody likes to be a step away from the pain.
Yeah, right.
So we can step it away, and we can make it a fiction, and then nobody really knows what's real and what isn't. So that person's exposing, but not really. And the reader has a little bit of, curiosity in it. And then the person who wrote it gets healed, the person who's reading it gets their healing, and nobody has to worry about all of the things that can happen with what people say or not, because you don't know if it's true or not. You just don't say it's fully nonfiction, right? And when you make up the characters and you give them all these cool names, then now you're in charge of the plot, right? And you're the director, and now you're taking charge of what in the process? Your own life. So vicariously, you're taking charge of yourself, in charge of your own life, and you're healing without having to make it be some major big issue. And so the rule is, I tell everybody, every time you think of an idea that has to do with it, write a paragraph real quick using those two names. And then you can go fill in the story.
That's right.
Because what's going to happen is they're going to see a theme.
Yes.
It wasn't just Joey Bag of Donuts. It was this, this. And so now all those personas through their whole lifetime still are all Joey Bag of Donuts in the story, though. Right. So they get to tell the truth and honor their journey in the big picture of life without ever having to use real names and expose anybody or have their mom get mad or so-and-so get, why did you say that and blah, 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 because nobody knows other than the author what's real and what isn't, because it's all plausible.
Right. There you go.
And so it's brilliant, and it's a great way for people to really say what's true because it matters, and they can retain their authenticity because authenticity is so important.
It's the key, right? So I bet we have some social posting and questions about that. That's awesome. I'm so happy that I asked the question, and it's so fantastic because it comes up, and in some books we have to, you even have to change names and that just so because you don't want liability or issues that way, but. I love it. So any questions before we go to the author or for this segment before we go to another spot? Rosemary? Okay, so, all right.
Yes. Well, and can you tell everyone that watches our live stream how they can find you and what you have coming up?
Right.
Sure, I'm glad to do that. My company's name is Visions Applied, and my website is visionsapplied.com. I can be emailed at info@visionsapplied.com. I have 2 books out, How to Quit Anything in 5 Simple Steps, and The Loneliness Cure, A Guide to Contentment. Both are at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and also on my website. I have events coming up. I have events going on all the time. They're on my event calendar of my website. But I have a New Year, New You event coming up that's 2 Saturdays, 2 half-day Saturdays in January, 2 in February. That's a launch into the new year, looking at depth of clarity and how you're going to leave your legacy for generations to come. That includes writing, and it includes everything about our lives. In March, I'm doing an Applied Transformation day-long workshop that actually is for my old half-day rate, so it's a real deal for people, and it's about how to apply all the things we're learning in our spiritual development. And then, of course, the big event is September 9th. At the Serrata Beach Resort, an all-weekend retreat. That is full of powerful teaching, and I have no idea where it's going yet. I think it's going to be about transformation, but it's still early. We'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh, when you said I have no idea where it's going yet, and that was the first workshop I had taken, I still have my favorite line when I'm speaking. Never let a title ruin a good talk. Like you said, you don't know where it's going yet. You just let the Spirit lead you and all your years of wisdom and knowledge. So thank you so much for being our guest and being my friend.
You're welcome.
And
my
sharing
pleasure.
with our community. So
my pleasure.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll go to a spot. Let us know, Kurt, when we're there. We'll be right. No dead air. Okay, we're back. We need to have a hashtag no dead air. I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
Am I?
I'm like, did you really just come on with dead air?
Can I?
That
Can I say? I said hashtag no dead air.
We are. We are just going to say that we need grace because we are learning. We are learning Facebook Live, and I'm sure we'll make many more boo-boos in the weeks to come. But we'll get this down, I promise. We're totally on a mission.
We do ask for grace. I mean, in everything that we do. But we feel strong that we see this and envision this and try to plan for this to be a show that you get a takeaway, right? Let's just to net it out.
And that was something I actually realized as we were going to Diane that I forgot to say, which was we want to hear from you. So if you have things that are you would like to, something that is a problem related to writing that you really have been thinking, wow, I wish I had a solution for that.
Or how do I start a blog?
Yeah, I wish I had an answer to that. You can send those to us at any time. Please leave them in the comments, and there are definitely things that we will look at all the comments, and we will definitely take into consideration everything that you give us as far as planning out our shows for 2017.
Right, exactly. As far as even a topic, I've heard that Self Magazine is going all online versus printing. Can you tell us what your opinion is? Or, we talked last week about the difference between hybrid publishers and traditional publishers. I mean, we're going to stay on Hot Topics, which is now this part of this show, right? This segment is called Hot Topics for us. We, are all things publishing, all things writing. So we're going to stay on what is trending, what is being talked about, what is innovative. So as we see them, that's going to build our shows. But if you have ideas or you have personal experience or struggles, we would love, to integrate with that.
And that's what our heart really in this is, that we want to be able to share information with more people, because we get a lot of women. We only come across dozens of women every week, but what we thought was, I'm sure that there are women outside of our sphere who are asking the same questions. We get a lot of great questions from the women that women come to us and they say, I want to write a book. I
want to be in a magazine.
I want to build an author platform. How do I do that? How do I even start that process? And we are so passionate about doing this for women. We say all the time that we're so blessed we feel very responsible for the women that we publish and put on the market. And, we get to be their voice kind of as we pitch them to media, and we pitch them to magazines or pitch them to blogs and podcasts. And we feel so strongly about the messages that we're putting into the world that we want to be able to help you, because we can't publish every book. We can't publish every magazine. We can't.
Nor do we want to.
Yeah, we just don't have the power to do
it. Nor do we want to, because not every book is a book a story that we want to publish. But let's talk about Hot Topics. So, for instance, it's the holidays, and so what I've been reading is Barnes & Noble a bookstore? Is Barnes & Noble a gift store, right? So there's that whole thing. What I love about the whole brick and mortar.
Or is Barnes & Noble a bar? Because I saw that they're carrying beer and
wine.
wine.
Slamming on our Barnes & Noble. And I mean, I love being in. I have had great experience there. It's what we use Barnes & Noble for, we partner with Barnes & Noble, I should say, for our author debuts. And there's a lot of good reasons, but I'll tell you what Barnes & Noble has right in terms of what I see in the partnership is what they have right is really the roles and responsibilities of their community relations manager. I mean, I met many of them, and they're really our point of contact. And they've got the right spirit, they've got the right ethic, whatever you're doing BNN, which, clearly they're all watching the live stream right now.
They're all tapping in, I'm sure.
Whatever training or mission or values that go into that role, it's an awesome role. So, saying that, let's talk more about the whole brick and mortar idea of the bookstores, which like I said, I think it's a slam of Barnes & Noble about, they're really just selling this and, selling drinks and refreshments and selling,
obviously they're doing something right because, Books A Million and some of these other bigger independent bookstores, chain bookstores.
Well, and Amazon
have not been able to sustain themselves. So,
right. What was it? Borders.
Yeah, a lot of them were closing. But really, what Barnes & Noble has done has tried to be a part of the community. I think is what's.
Well, I think they try to stay alive. as a bookstore, but
right.
you mean the
I
advantage.
mean, they tap into being, because they're getting it that they need to bring in local authors, and they need to be a place for, even kids to come, and they do events like the Makers Fair that was going on. So they're doing things that actually draws the community in. So it's not just a bookstore, it's more of a hub for the community, which is what I think they're doing right. And that's why you said those community managers are probably being the ones that are being trained in that.
To drive that.
That they need to concentrate on being a part of the community in a bigger picture, where a lot of the other bookstores didn't do that. They just wanted to sell books.
Right.
They wanted to concentrate
and they want to stay pure to that. And okay, I mean, every business has its own, go ahead.
But what I was going to say, the other thing that that makes me think about that I did a lot of research on when I originally dove into studying publishing was the fact that I love that there is a surge of independent bookstores coming back. So for instance, my friend Chrissy talks about this little bookstore that is at the beach where her mother lives, and when she goes to visit her mom, she always goes to visit the little bookstore because she thinks it's so quaint and cute, and she just loves the space and loves being there.
It's a whole other feel. It's a whole other bookstore. And actually, so our bookstore, as you know, is the Book Swap in Carrollwood. It's where my daughters take their books and we exchange them, and we have a credit. And I would say I have a credit of $1 gazillion. And we've gotten to know this bookstore, and actually it's where we're going to launch a book. But it's a whole different animal, right? It's a whole different market. It's a whole different everything. But in my opinion, against some of what's trending right now, kind of negative towards the Barnes & Noble, and maybe even, online negative towards the, smaller boutique bookstores. In my opinion, I think you agree, we're all over it. We think that the brick and mortar is here to stay because it promotes community. I mean, bottom line.
Yeah,
right?
well, and that's why I think that is essentially why it's kind of the same vein as to why Barnes & Noble is doing well or sustaining themselves right now. I don't know that they would consider themselves doing well, but the reason they're sustaining and the reason that there's, a rise in independent bookstores is really because they're doing the same thing. Independent bookstores are niching themselves down and becoming a part of the community. Right. So when they stick themselves in these places like the little beach town, and then they have a feel of, come here to when you're on vacation and get your book and kind of hang out, and it has a really cool little vibe, then they're tapping into the market that is there. So then,
how do you get any of that online, downloading your book by yourself?
No, it's an experience. Yeah. So bookstores, like what Barnes & Noble is doing, is creating a community experience. Independent bookstores are creating an experience as well, so that, it's more than just a bookstore. It's a place where you go for more than just a book, I think, at this point. Right. Very cool. Love that hot topic.
So that's a great hot topic. All right. So,
what's our next topic?
Well, typically what we do at the show in this time is give you a preview, talk a little bit about our guests for the next show. So what we're doing is we are going to go ahead and break since it's the holiday. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. So we will resume the first Tuesday of January. So please put it on your calendar, womenofrightnow.live on January the 3rd. At 2:00 will be our inaugural show of 2017. And we'll just I'm super excited about it because what we have planned for it, it will be fantastic. And just hope and pray that everyone tunes in then. And we have...
What about Ed Diane Allen was amazing today. What an amazing guest. And really, I hope ultimately what the show today was about was, what's holding you back. I mean, what I was thinking about what I would like to say while Diane was talking with you was what I want to say to women is, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe you can do this, and you have everything you need right now. So, and that's right now. WRITE is what the show is about, and that was part of the vision for it. Is that I feel like I see way too many women who are like tomorrow, next week,
or when I X, or when I do X, when I live X, or
when I get to this X, when my kids grow up, or when this happens. And like Diane said, sometimes it's about the busyness, and I think it is truly about, if you make it a priority, if you decide it's something that's a priority in your life right now, which I have seen over and over again with people that we work with, when they make it a priority and they decide that now is the time and they want to do it now, they make it a priority and they do it. Yeah. And that's really the hardest part, is just setting it down and saying, I'm not going to let this go anymore. Especially, I have to say, in a case like Lisa and I have talked about several people that we've met where it's relevant now. You have to remember that some things that you've gone through may not be relevant 10 years from now. They're relevant right now, and the world needs to hear them right now. So by you putting it off, I feel like you do a disservice to sharing that message that the world needs to hear now. So think about that when you are putting off your blog or your book. There are so many ways that you can make your voice heard. And, of course, we love books and we love magazines because, that's we're print publishers as well as digital publishers. And we love those mediums, but there are a lot of ways that you could share your voice. And
so we're here to help you with that.
We are, that's what Women of Right
That's what
now
we are here
is
to
for.
And the upcoming community, which will announce more of that, just to give a little preview.
In 2017.
Women of Writing, our WOW community, will foster more of what we're talking about.
Yes, because we want to bring you, we not
There's our
only,
teasers.
Lisa and I are not your only cheerleaders, the only people who truly believe in
But
you.
I'm head cheerleader.
You're a head cheerleader. She's always head cheerleader. I don't know why that is, but
2017 New Year's resolution. Actually, Diane would say, no, go with it. So that's why I love her. But no. All right, it's time to end the show.
Oh, cool.
Pretty much,
Okay.
right? We have, so thank you for joining.
Yes.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Kurt Middlebrook, for
Thank you, Kurt, the
producing.
videologist, for
Rosemary.
we did our first show officially.
And we're happy. And thank you for watching. And please
Thank
send
you
us
for watching.
comments and tips. Thank you.
Thank you.